everyone. People at the back, grab a seat. A lot of people here today. The power of Peach. Is it anyone's first CDR? For those who haven't been, Christine gave a bit of a rundown, but CDR, it's been running since Plastic People days, when they actually brought CDRs literally for producers to play their tracks on an amazing sound system. Shout out to Plastic, shout out to Corsica. It's evolved to education, record label. But one thing that we always do is sort of invite artists to give a bit of an insight into their process, their production, their journey, and hopefully you guys can take something away from that. It's much about you guys as music makers and the community that it represents. Today, very excited. I've got a very world-renowned DJ, producer, has a show on NTS, released on labels such as Peach This, Can You Feel the Sun, and her own print, Psychic Readings. Give it up for Peach, please.
Thank you. Is it on? Yeah, it is. Okay.
So you're quite a name in the UK circuit, right? But you're actually from Canada. We just talked about when you just moved over.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk us about the kind of early steps into DJing and music production and what that looked like? Was it over here? Was it over there?
So it was over there. I started, the first time I ever really DJ'd was in 2012. A friend, I've said this so many times, but I was just like the girl in my friend group at the afters or at the pre-drink playing all the music, and then people were DJing around me and they're like, why don't you just DJ? And I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And at that point my friend had some, I think like 400s or something, so I don't know, we were just burning CDs and like trying to mix which wasn't super successful.
At these parties and afters and, you know, house what were you playing?
No, this was, I mean, it wasn't even at afters and parties at this point, but it was like I was just playing when we were DJing. He would just bring his decks over to my living room and we would just try to mix and stuff. At that point I was like really into some quite like funny, I don't know, it was like kind of a mix of like really funny old tech house like Alex Kenji and like really basic like minimal stuff that I had been listening to when I was younger. Nothing like super cool. I wasn't like deep into Perlon or something like that when I was like 19. I wish I could say that. I was still like just kind of coming out of the era of like Blog House, so I was still trying to play like, you know, Shake and Pop and like, all these kind of things that were just
What was the scene like in where from Canada are you from?
So I'm from like Toronto area. I lived in Toronto for about 6-7 years before I moved over here. But at that time I was at school in Ottawa, which is like the capital of Canada, which is honestly so boring. But it's where I kind of like cut my teeth raving and stuff because we were 2 hours away from Montreal. So we would like get on a megabus and then go to Montreal for the weekend and go to some raves. And I remember like my first ever rave, it was like Calvin Harris, Laid Back Luke, Sound of Stereo, Wolfgang Gartner, some like pretty of the time stuff. This was like in 2009, like that kind of era.
Bet you loved it.
I fucking loved it. You used to hold me every time.
Yeah.
And like I created disco. I mean, I just wanted Calvin Harris to play I Created Disco, but he didn't play that at all. It was the Used to Hold Me era. It was like right when that came out. So it was all there then.
And then so like when did it start getting serious? Like your first gig was supporting Derek Carter, right?
My first gig was supporting Derek Carter.
It's not a bad first gig.
That's because, so during this time when I was living in Ottawa, I was like going to school, I was working at this bar. I was like a bartender there. I worked like every single night, and eventually when I started getting deeper into DJing and stuff, my boss was like, do you want to play a night? Like, do you want to play? And I think he just kind of saw some sort of like excitement in me for doing this, and I was like, yeah, I would love to. And he was like, I'm gonna have you open for someone. I want you to like put a night together. And it was like the first time I'd put a night together, and it was honestly, it feels embarrassing to even say it now.
So it was also your party as well?
It was a party that I started based on my boss being like, please start a party. Like, I think you should start a party. And I was like, all right. And it was my first foray into promoting, which was probably my last for a while. And it was a party called Deep Sound Saturdays. And my brother, who was 6 years younger than me, so he was about like 16 or 17 at the time, was like doing the artwork for me.
Wow.
And it was like pretty hilarious, to be honest.
And how did it go? Like,
Well, he
How
let
long
me,
had you been DJing and like messing around on decks at this
I
point?
think for like a year or something like that. At that point, I was so bad. It was horrible, honestly. I was not, and at that time, I was my real name, which is like Serena Passion, and people used to be like, oh, like, what is that name? Are you like a stripper or something? And I was actually quite embarrassed
She's
of
like,
it.
none of this stripper name. I'm going to go to Peach.
Yeah. So then, I mean, to be honest, I stopped DJing for a while. There was like this point where I got really into like Jamie Jones, Seth Troxler era. It was like 2012, and I'd moved to Toronto, and I left school, and I got really deep into like that era of like minimal tech house and stuff like that. And I was working for somebody at the time who was a manager, and he kind of was like, look, if you're gonna DJ, you can't help me manage someone. You got to pick, which I think is just strange advice now, but I was like, 21, and I was like, yeah, okay, I want to focus on that because I've been doing DJing, so why not I just focus on that? So I
on my artist management.
help him with artist management or something. And at the time, he was artist managing Urulu, who is now known as Liquid Earth.
Right.
Which is kind of hilarious because like we know each other now from so long. But anyway, so then that time I stopped DJing for a while, and I just didn't really. I mean, I didn't connect with management at all. I come from a marketing background. I went to school for marketing, so it felt like maybe it would be something that made sense. But anyways, ended up stopping doing that, and then somehow getting super inspired and back into it when a friend of mine around 2014, I want to say, was like showing me records that he bought from Hardwax, and I hadn't really heard of Hardwax or known that much of it. And he was showing me some like Chiwax records, and like he in choice showed me like this DJ Sprinkles like Brother to Brother record. Yes. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, this is the best thing I've ever heard.
And then did you then go from CD days to vinyl?
No, I did. I ended up starting to put in orders with him for Hardwax, but then I would still rip them because I just didn't really have access. I eventually had one record player or one or two turntables before I left, but I just was too scared to actually commit to vinyl. And so I played like lots of CDJs until honestly quite recently. Like I didn't really start playing records out until like just after the pandemic and stuff.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it was around then that I started, and in around 2015 my friends were throwing a night, and it was Kyle Hall, and they wanted me to play, and Kyle Hall was playing, and that was like the first time I played as Peach, which was in 2015.
Was that here, or was that in?
That was in Toronto.
Okay, and so what inspired the move to come to the UK?
So I did like honestly quite a classic North American trope where you go to Deckmantle, and then you go to Berkheim for like 2 days, and you're like, I love it. Europe is amazing. It's so good here. And I really thought like I really want to move to Europe, and I was working in a marketing job at the time, and I also just had been in Toronto for a long time. I loved it. I loved the scene there, but I also was like ready for something else, and I just wanted to be closer to music that I was really really interested in. And in North America, like you only get certain DJs that can come over there, the ones that can like afford the visa, especially in Toronto, because like it's not really like a major stop like a New York or something, so you wouldn't necessarily get to see everyone. Like the amount of times I almost saw Ricardo Villalobos was like hilarious, and then they replace him with like Luciano or something, and which is fine. It was still good, but it's not the same.
No shade on Luciano.
No shade to Luciano. I've seen him at least 6 times now.
Do you think it's a bit of a sliding door situation where had you not moved to London, the whole trajectory of your career might have been different?
I think so. I think I would have probably stayed in I don't know if I would have even pursued it like in the way. I mean, it was just interesting because I think a lot of the opportunities and a lot of what happened to me came from being here. Yeah, I think it would have just been totally different. I don't even know. I don't even think about what my life would have been like without moving here, because I couldn't imagine not living here. I love it here more than anything.
So talk us about the kind of first, entering London, building a network, building a community, because you definitely have kind of like a network of producers, DJs, and people that you seem to have a tight connection with.
Yeah, I guess like because I moved over, I ended up scrapping Berlin and scrapping Amsterdam, but after going to Berlin and saying I would move to London because my mom was born here, So I was like, oh, I have a passport to the UK. I should probably come and
Boom.
check it out. Yeah. And then I also went to my boss, and he was kind of like, you know, I don't want to lose you in our job. Like, we can actually just move you to London office. And it was all serendipitous. It felt so lucky. Like, and then I just moved over. And I remember my first day of work, there was a party happening at Phonica, and I was working on Wardour Street. There was a party happening at Phonica, and it was run by No Bad Days, and Mulgrab was playing. And it was when Mulgrab was like first released on like No Bad Days, I guess it was. I can't remember. But I just went there. I met some of my first friends. I literally went out there and I was just like, hey, I met this girl. She was eating some summer rolls on the street. And I was like, I have no friends. I just moved here. She was like, I'll be your friend. And she and I are still friends to this day, but she lives in Australia now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
But that was kind of, I mean, and then I kind of just would go out really like a lot. Like I came to Corsica so much. I lived at Corsica when I moved here.
Yeah.
Like, so it's funny to think of like, I used to be in these walls when there used to be the stage here. Because now when you party
decks were there.
and the decks were there, I used to just be in this corner, like on this stage all the time. So it feels weird to be like sitting here talking about it.
It's funny how life comes in circles.
It goes like that. But yeah.
And then in terms of like DJing, you know, music making, was it quite a while before you moved into London, or was it kind of straight in?
So I had started to make music before I moved to London. It was a friend of mine, the same friend who showed me the Sprinkles records and the Hard Wax Order and stuff. He showed me Ableton. I struggled to really grasp it, and at the end of the day,
You probably owe that friend a drink.
I've given him a few drinks, that's for sure. Yeah, like I basically just didn't really grasp it, and I feel like anybody is in this room who's, you know, touched a DAW knows that, like, you know, you can't really just step into it once every so often. Like, you're not going to learn that much. It's hard to pick up on. So I didn't really get anywhere with it until I was like consistent with it, which didn't really happen until like sometime after I moved, and in like 2017. And I was just going out. I moved here and then I was just going out a lot. I was partying a lot. I was just like enjoying and seeing London and meeting quite a lot of people, having an amazing time. Been introduced to like, I don't know, just various people. And I basically told myself, okay, I'm just going to produce, like, I had a show on Radar Radio who I've just met one of the producer from it when I was out partying, and introduced myself to him. And then he was like, oh yeah. And then I was talking to the No Bad Days guys, and they had a show, they brought me on. So it was just kind of like this, honestly, I feel like I just got swept into the London community like quite quickly, and like just, but also through like just being out a lot, which isn't for everybody. But it was what happened to me, really. But yeah, and then kind of started producing, and I told myself, like, I'm going to sit down at home, no matter how tired I am after work, 2 nights a week, and just crack at Ableton. And
did you have any kind of like, did you play any instruments when you were younger? Is there any sort of like foundation to it? Is it all like self-taught?
I played the guitar for a bit when I was younger. I just really wanted to learn like Fat Lip by Sum 41 on the guitar, and like Stairway to Heaven. I got like, you know, 4 notes into
all
Stairway
the
to Heaven.
secrets are coming out on this
Exactly, you know. I mean, I was a like a MySpace like emo kid for a long time. Still love a bit of hardcore music and stuff like that.
Skating was quite a big part of it.
I was a big skateboarder. Yeah. Still, I mean, can't anymore because can't be breaking anything while I'm touring all the time. Did that already in the pandemic, and no more.
Used to be a laugh, Serena.
What happened to me? But yeah, so started producing quite a lot, and then I guess.
What was the process? Was it YouTube tutorials, trial and error? Was there people you got in the studio with and collaborated with, or was it a solo venture?
It was mostly just a solo venture. I had bought myself a Korg mini log, which I used pretty much not at all. It was just me writing drums and like trying to make things and sending like my pretty half-assed tunes to my friends. And one of my my best friends at the time, and my best friend still now, is Nathan McKay. And he would just encourage me constantly. He was like, yeah, keep working on it. It was probably so bad, but he was like, you know, just keep going at it. And he was always so like encouraging of it always. So, and at the time he had moved to Berlin, and he was touring and writing quite a lot of music, and he'd been writing music for a long time. So at that point. And now obviously he writes music for like HBO and stuff
Yeah,
like
he
that.
does like
And
huge TV and films.
yeah,
and
he's
stuff
like completely out of dance music kind of stuff, but still does. I mean, writes dance music stuff but just within the context of TV shows. Anyways, he was super encouraging, and I just so happened to be introduced via a friend who was like, "Oh, have you I met somebody who's from where your parents live." And I was like, "What? That's so crazy. Where, like, who is this person?" And they're like, "Yeah, I met them at the Garden Festival, which is now Love International, and I met them on this boat, and it's his husband is this DJ called like Midland or something." And I was like, "Midland's husband is from where my parents are from? What?" So then she was like, "We should go for dinner with all of us." And I was like, "We're gonna go for dinner with Midland? Like, that's crazy."
Yeah.
And I was a huge Midland fan always.
Yeah.
I was always a really big fan. So I just had to like go out for this dinner and keep it together. So I just didn't speak to him at the entire dinner, basically.
Right.
I just spoke to his husband.
Cool. Yeah.
Play cool. Don't talk to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that time, and he was like, "You should send me some music that you're making sometime when you're ready." And
Because that was your first release.
and that was like my first release. I ended up sending him some music, and he was like, "Look, I want to like help you with this." And he like brought me into the studio. He would like help me like, we would talk through like the structure of it. He would give me notes. We would like talk about different aspects of it, and eventually help me mix it. Like it was pretty like hands-on and like super helpful, and it taught me so much just being in the studio with him. Also had me petrified, but like, I mean, I just was like scared because I was such a huge Midland fan. Like you look at videos of like Midland Deck Mantle 2015 and I'm in the videos.
Oh, right.
Like,
Yeah.
dancing next to it. Because
At this point, like how taken off, is that the right term? But like your DJ career was at that time, like you would.
I was just DJing in London really at that time.
Okay.
And I had a radio show.
Had you moved to NTS by this point, or was still?
I don't think so. No, I think I moved to NTS in like 2018. Whenever it was just before Radar kind of went under, but I was on Radar at the time for a long time.
I'm just trying to paint a picture for where you're at in your life, but it'd be great to hear the song that you released with.
Yeah, I can play it. That's one of the first songs that we can talk about.
Shall we do it?
Okay, let's play it.
So what's this song called?
So this track is called Silky. It's named after a friend of mine who sadly passed away like the year I moved to London. But he also loved Midland, and also we loved, I don't know, dancing together, so it's named after him.
Oh, that's nice. Corsica system still thumps.
Yeah, oh my god. I don't know if it's like too loud or anything.
It's fine. think that deserves a round of applause.
Thank you. Yeah,
what's it like? What's it like hearing your first release back? Is it like a moment and time that you're super proud of? Is it like, oh, it changed this, and this? Like, how's it hearing it? Especially in Corsica, where you used to rave when you first moved to London.
Oh, it's funny. I mean, I definitely feel this like still this like connection to this. I never play this track out. I remember there's like a few times where I've actually played it out, and once I felt like really emotional playing it out. I guess also because it had been quite like a long time before I'd like heard it. That's actually the first time I've listened to that in like many years as well. So it feels quite like strange, but it kind of like brings me back. Like I remember so clearly because this track was like kind of. I mean, like any first kind of track you kind of like crack through. Like I had many like iterations of like other things like on the go that weren't like just like, quite there. But like this one clicking into place was that kind of like noise that's like sitting in the high end, the like little like which is actually just a sample from a demo of a wave drum, if a Korg wave drum, and it's like literally just the video of it on YouTube.
But ripped it from YouTube.
I literally just ripped it from YouTube.
Sick. I love that.
I mean, I'd still be doing that, honestly. like what? No shame.
No shame at all. I think that's sick.
Well, also, you come to find I'm not the most like technical person when I'm DJing, and I'm not the most technical when it comes to production as well, because I feel like I wish I had more time to be more like technical and like granular with it, but I just didn't, and I just am not. But I think this was kind of more like, yeah, I guess just trying to capture an emotion really more than anything, and
I guess it must feel maybe loaded as well because of the being named after your friend, perhaps.
Yeah, it feels a bit like loaded and emotional. I mean, it's quite an emotional track, lots of strings, like lots of, and I do just write like that. Like I think I just lean more into writing like with lots of pads and like things like that. But it definitely feels like an emotional one to think about.
Do you have a process when you come to a track? Is it like drums first, or like, and has it changed as well? Because we're going to listen to like kind of like a chronological order of some of your productions.
Yeah, we are.
Do you have a process?
I mean, now the process has definitely changed. Now it's just like I used to definitely just start with drums and just try to get them sounding good. It's very strange. Like, I feel like I was doing the same thing that I was doing then, but for some reason now my drums just seem to click into like a space of groove just so much better than when I first started using Ableton. And I think that's just about also like knowing what you like and being aware of like what you're interested in and stuff.
Yeah. It's just getting your 10,000 hours in. The more time you put, the more it gets better. And you're Ableton, right? I'm
a main Ableton girly. I've never been on anything. I did try Logic for a bit, but it doesn't necessarily hit. And I've seen it and used it because this track also, when it was initially, it was in Ableton, and then I bounced out the stems, and Harry and I would work on it in Logic because Harry works entirely in Logic, and so did Shanti for a really long time. So I also was familiar with like her process within Logic as well, and seeing it through there.
And is it mainly, well, I mean, obviously there's the YouTube bit, but is it like samples? Is it MIDI and soft synths? Or like...
Yeah, this was like mostly just, there was the wave drum sample. There was, I'm going to like double check my notes because I wrote it down, since I know usually like everyone's pulling up the Ableton, but my studio computer just cannot move.
Yeah.
She can't leave the house.
And it's all in the box.
Yeah, I'm big in the box. I have some out of the box synths, which I did use for a while, but I found it to be quite difficult, which I'll talk about later, to mix some of them in. So, but I think it's also just because they're like old synths, really, more than anything. And I was just dusty, and you're recording out audio of the MicroKorg. It's just like a mess. You're just trying to like, surgeon out some like really sharp noises in the high end, and you're like, let me get this out of here. And then you're like, I might as well have just written this like in a box. Not that you don't have to do that when you're in the box as well. You have to do that, I guess, in any sort of case. But yeah, so mostly just that, and that was also just all like lots of drum samples, a big like tom, obviously, and like the bass line was pretty basic there.
Do you have go-tos like plugins, synths? Is it Ableton stock, or you a big spender?
I'm not a big spender. I'm a huge Korg girl. I love Korg products. I'm like a big, now when I walk you through the rest of them, but I'm big on the Electribe. I'm big on the M1. I love the Triton so much. Triton is like more of a recent purchase for me, like last year, and it like, you can hear it and actually I feel like quite a lot of the music that I'm going to show you is directed by like my discoveries in different VSTs and different products and stuff.
It feels very related to the energy of your DJ sets. Like,
yeah, you think?
Kind of like, I think so. Like kind of like classic house and techno sounds, and it could be new, but it could also be like from the 90s. And am I getting it wrong?
No, I love that. I mean, that's what I love, and that's what I hope it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Okay, good.
And then how was it like putting it out? Were you like hungry to do more, or like?
I was so nervous, and it was quite crazy. And like, I'll admit that like, I like this definitely came also at a time when like people were doing their best to uplift women in dance music. Like it was at a time where people were like, wow, we are literally surrounded by men in this industry. Like what's going on? So there was like a big push to like uplift women. And I'm not afraid to say that was like, I was like a big part of that like push, and like this being up there, and like probably Harry wanting to make sure that like and take care like and like nurture me was part of that as well. But also because we're friends and like very close, and also maybe saw something, I don't know, but it definitely was terrifying. And at the time I was still working a desk job when all this was happening.
Oh, you hadn't gone full time with music at this point?
No, I wasn't full time with music until the end of 2018. So I moved to London in 2016, and I spent the next like 2.5 years just working, and in 2017 I was like occasionally DJing. But when we put this out, instantly I started getting like more and more gigs, and then I started getting like agents interested in me, and I started like, it started kind of like bubbling up. And this is of the time that doesn't necessarily happen now in the same way, but that was just what happened to me. And then it was like slowly bubbling, and by 2018 I had like agents interested in me, and I had just signed with my agent, who is Kim, and she's still my agent, and she's like one of my best friends. And she got an offer pretty much a week after we started working together to do a boiler room. And
the one in Manchester,
it was the one in Manchester.
That's iconic, that is.
And we didn't even know if we were going to do it, because when it got sent, it was like Gabriel Zatan like being like, I think Serena would be really great for this. And Kim was like, what does Gabriel Zatan know about like queer things in Manchester? Like, but they had, they had done their work, and they had done a documentary. So they were like, we wanted you to play it. And I thought I was scared, but I mean, we did it. And overnight, that was like kind of insane. Like Kim had like emails and emails overnight from people like requesting to book me afterwards. So that's like kind of a really pivotal point in like where it was. But then at the time,
it's one of the most fun boiler rooms ever.
Thank you.
Both visually and musically.
I did another stream for Mixmag like last year, and I was like, we're never going to top it. Why am I doing like, and for so long I was like, I don't want to do another one, because I'm like, it's never going to be that.
So I guess, I mean, I think it's important with these talks as well to actually talk about jobs, because
totally,
on social media, people are like, I'm a successful, to everyone in the room, it's like, no, a lot of people really graft and have to live a double life to make things work
especially in London,
yeah.
Like, especially in, I mean, and I think it's important to do that, because also like there's something about when you like, and I did it for like, basically for like a good like 9-10 months. I worked full time 4 to 5 days a week. I went from 5 days to 4 days, and then I was gigging like 2 nights a week, and like I would go back to the office on Monday and work all week, and then I would just do it over and over again. I did it for 10 months because I was like, I don't want to like wake up and this is like no one cares anymore about what I was doing DJing wise. And I wanted to make sure that was like still going to be there, and I didn't want to just like off some interest in me just quit my job. And like I needed that security financially, and also just I think when you do leave that and you start relying on your music for financial, your financial security, then you can make choices that might compromise your creativity, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
I wanted to
totally.
make sure I was like super comfortable and I wasn't gonna have to make choices like that.
Yeah.
Like
When-
taking a gig I didn't like. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
when you're hand to mouth, so like sometimes you're thinking about rent rather than is this the right thing that I want to do? You know?
Yeah, and I mean, there's still times now where I like, you know, there's gigs that you take and they're the money gigs, you know, like, and we're seeing the, like, you know, collapse of Sonar right now, and that's everyone's money gig. I was like, that was everyone's money gig for sure.
Yeah. One thing when we spoke the other day, which I found interesting, is as well as you know, your friend now, like Harry, who is pushing you. You said Shanti on the side. You know, that you said there was a kind of a desire to uplift women and release them. You were like, Shanti were like, you're not ready. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? And that, because that's a great friend as well in a very different way.
Yeah, and I mean, we weren't even that close then, I guess. So after the release, there was this party that I played, and I was opening for Shanti, and she had just released Peach Discs and announced Peach Discs, and she came into the booth. She was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that you exist. I was like, oh, it's okay, like, I'm just a DJ called Peach, like, it's not that big of a deal, like, you don't have to say sorry to me. And she was like, but like, I've heard you make music, like, can you send me some? So I started sending her music, and at the same time, other people were interested in my music because it was the time to uplift women. There was lots of people like reaching out to be like, hey, like, I want to hear what you're doing. And it was really interesting because I would send things to Shanti and she'd go, yeah, that's cool, but like, keep working on it. Or she'd be like, that's a nice idea, but like, I think you can do better, and like, that's not ready yet. And so many people were saying to me like, I want to sign that track. Right. And she was saying to me, that's not ready yet. And I was kind of questioning, being like, God, why is that so nuts? But also it made me realize that I wasn't ready yet. Like, she was just being really honest with me and real. And I'm happy she didn't put out, and I didn't put out those tracks because they weren't ready yet. And I listen back to them now, and they're fine, but they definitely weren't the EP that I put out with her. And it took a long time.
What made you resist the temptation of all the labels who were like, let's release it and maybe listen to Shanti and work on it? Or what is there a reason why? Because some people would have been like, oh, cool, someone wants to sign my next track, I'm going to put it out, you know? Like,
I guess like I trusted her and I trusted her process, and I like admired her and what she had to say and her own career and stuff. And I also think that I was in a position where I had a job still. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not like rushing to, and I was never rushing, and I've never been in a rush, and I never treated anything that I was doing musically about like when is whatever. And because I never even planned for any of it. Like, it just kind of organically was this thing that like slowly kind of came to be, until one day I had to quit my job because I had too many gigs, and I was like, this is just what I'm doing now. And also I was like thankful and happy for it because that's what I loved way more than, you know, my marketing job. But it just what it was. And yeah. So
you did kind of wait it, work on it, and then your next release was with Shanti and Peach Discs and Gramercy.
Yeah, exactly. And it took me about, I mean, the first track I sent her was after that show, and that was like in like 2019 or something like that. And we didn't put out my release until like 2022 or 2021 or something, I think, or 2018. And the release that I sent, the first track that I sent her that she was like, yeah, I want to work with you, was actually the track that I ended up putting out on the RNS compilation that you did in the pandemic.
Yeah.
T.
I almost blocked that out.
Sorry, we didn't even bring it up.
Yeah. No, that's mad. That was a good track.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was almost going to sign to Shanti's record.
That was what made her initially want to sign with me or work with me, and then we ended up just like scrapping it, and I ended up making her loads of new stuff, and she just was more into it.
Shall we talk about the thing that you released on Shanti's label?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's have a listen first, and then we'll talk through it.
So this is a track called Buttercup. It's like the lead track, and I guess it's probably the track that I'm probably most well known for, I guess. It is labeled under Tech House on... Oh, I did that. Okay, actually.
Yeah. Who's labeled as Tech House?
How dare they?
Me. Yeah.
Anyways, okay. And
don't forget your Toronto raving roots, you know?
I mean, to be honest, this track is just me trying to do my best Terry Francis impression for sure.
I checked out the old Spotify. This has done some numbers.
Yeah,
This is
some
done
Spotify
alright.
numbers. Yeah, I guess so.
It's I mean, like, I guess there's a thing as well where a lot of people maybe kind of producers first and DJing, but like a lot of your music is like, this is gonna work on the dance floor, right? Like that feels.
I try. So
Yeah.
I try. So I strive for. I think that's like the.
Do you road
Cost-
test material when you're like gigging and like see how it's, see how the crowd responds to it and then finesse it? Because that's definitely a straight down the like, if you're not shaking to this, then what's wrong?
I guess like I try my best, but I mean now I definitely do more than anything. But honestly, it's I think bridging the gap between like my taste and the music I make is like an eternal struggle, because I think when you, especially like I started out as a DJ and I have very specific like ideas of like what I like, it's been really hard to try to like catch myself up into a place where like I feel like my productions match that, and I still don't. I didn't think that with this, and I don't play this out, but think
You don't?
it is. No, but I do think it is a banger. Like,
Right.
it
I
definitely
do say
does what
so
it's it does what it's supposed to do. Like the whole point was like that bass line is like just supposed to be. I was just really inspired by this Terry Francis track. Albeit the Terry Francis track is a lot more like subtle and like probably classy than what I do with it, which is just like kind of almost borderline speed garage, which is probably why Shanti liked it.
Right. Yeah.
But
So,
I mean,
so talk us through the releasing, and it got to a point where you kept sending stuff, and she was like, "This is the one," or like, how did it come to that point?
yeah, it was like I would just send her things, and eventually it was like, yeah, that's it. That's one of them. And then it came down. And then we had 4, and and one of them, the lead title track of the EP, which is called Galaxy Girl, was actually super inspired by quite a lot of like UK music I was listening to, and like I was really inspired by like your Time Dance, your Hessel Audios, and like I wasn't, I'm not like making music like that, but it definitely had like, I was just inspired by the textural elements of it. And I think so much of what I was trying to do in this was also trying to like get more texture and like more interest in it. And I had just discovered like, I just got like 2 new keyboards. I gotten rid of the mini log like ages ago, but I got the MicroKorg, and a lot of this is written on the MicroKorg, and then an Alesis Micron, which is like just whatever keyboard. It costs like not even very much money. And to be honest, I got it for free because Pariah was getting rid of it, and he was like, "All right, I've given it to David, like Pearson Sound, who has it at Rinse, so you can go pick it up." I was like, "Sweet," and he was like leaving London, so he just like gave it to me. And I like went, and David just had it in like a garbage bag. And I like took it home, and then that was like, and it still is like my main synth, like, but it is like mostly just like a MIDI keyboard now. Like I use it mostly just for MIDI, but it is my favorite one. And all of the like effects and everything was like samples from that. And the main bass line from this was
so you actually like playing on hardware rather than just drawing MIDI in and like,
oh yeah, like I write all of my like pads, everything. I don't like know how to play piano or anything, but like I guess I can like, I can play around and like make a bass line, and I can try my best to like play some. I know like a couple notes, but like now I definitely know the notes that work for me, and stick to the black keys when you need to. Sometimes that's some rules. These are
when in doubt, just hit the black keys.
When you want to keep it sexy, stick to the black keys, I guess.
It's interesting that you bring Time Dance and Hessel. Do you think your location, because a lot of the stuff I would almost hark to classic Chicago, but there is a UK influence. Where would you place your music in the kind of global sense in terms of? Is that too big a question?
That's a big question. I'm like, it's a big question. I mean, definitely like in this is like, it's like pop tech house or something, I guess, or something, or popular tech house. It's not like necessarily anywhere close to like the 90s and like 2000s stuff, but it's definitely, I guess it definitely feels more speed garage coded than anything, to be honest, from the bass line. But all of my newer stuff, like I would say definitely in a realm of like, trying to claw into like early 2000s and like 90s stuff. A lot of the stuff that I actually play, I feel like as I've gotten like more along, I've gotten closer to that, I guess.
Yeah. I want to speed things along because you told me about some of the stuff that you've got planning in the future, which is actually super exciting. So I kind of want to move along to when you decided to set up your own imprint and release stuff yourself.
Yes.
Was the label just a vehicle so you don't have to deal with, what was the thinking behind that?
I was like, I never want to talk to Shanti ever again after this. No, I'm joking.
Fair.
Sorry, I'm so joking. Talk to her every day. I had made the track that I'm going to play, which is called Eclipse, which is like the first track that I released on the label. I had just made it and I just didn't feel like I wanted to send it to someone, but I just didn't know who to send it to. I just didn't feel like anyone was like hitting that spot for me. And maybe I could have.
Where you wanted your music to be characteristically.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't really see. I'm not saying it was like so different from what was out there, but I just felt like I just didn't have an instant idea for a home for it. And I just thought, well, maybe I should just start my own thing. And then I started like getting inspired by like the ideas and like getting inspired for like the aesthetic of it and everything. And I never really pictured myself starting a label, but it was in that time that I decided to start it. And at first I was like, I'm not going to release anyone else's music because I feel like I'm not able to like weigh in and give feedback like the way that Shanti and Harry did for me. Like I just don't feel like I had enough experience for it. Now I feel like a lot more like seasoned for that and like ready for that.
It's a big responsibility as well.
Huge.
Releasing someone else's music.
Absolutely.
They've
poured so much life into it, and you got to uplift them and also like promote it, but also like take care of it and make sure they're getting paid and like doing all the proper like label things. Like this is, I mean, Psychic Readings is a bit of a cowboy machine that I run on my own so for now, but yeah, so I'll play the first one.
Yeah, what's this song called?
This is called Eclipse. Oopsie. Maybe we'll fast forward it a bit.
So what year is this, just for context?
I made this in 2002 or 2022. Yeah, it was just after like Galaxy Girl and everything. Yeah. And you get the idea of it really, and then just that's a. Anyways. Thank you.
How's it feel hearing them in this order? Can you hear the progression?
I can definitely hear the progression. It was like interesting when I opened up the projects to like write down the notes of like what everything I was using as well, and noticing that it was definitely being steered by like what I had available to me, which I guess is classic, what you were discovering and stuff. And this was definitely like deeply like M1. Like I had found the M1. I had found quite a lot of things I liked in the M1. There was like lots of bass lines in it that I loved. There was lots of like really beautiful like motion synth sounds and pads and stuff that I was super into, and just layering. And it was kind of the start of me like layering quite a lot of things, and also discovered this synth now, or this VST now, which is like one of my favorites, which is Ace. And it's by the UHE catalog. It's honestly like one of my bread and butter, and it's like they have Diva, which is like quite a big one from them.
Yeah.
So then they have this one called Ace, which is like it makes up like a modular, like they try to make it like a modular, and it's got a bunch of like racks on it and stuff like that, but it's not, it's really easy to use, and it's sick, and it's got some just really gorgeous presets.
So are you just like build the drums and then jam, and then until you find a bit that you're like, that's a section.
Yeah. My process is just like put some things in, like maybe add some other things, take it away, constantly just like adding, taking away, and just going with whatever feels good. Never having like an idea in mind of like what I want to make or anything. Like sometimes, I've written stuff and I'm like, I really need to write like a B-side, or like when I'm working on a remix, it's like, okay, I want this to like be really drummy and I want to take this in a different direction. Like that's different. But this is when I'm just writing stuff for me, like I just sit down and like let things happen. And then just, I think for a long time and it's very easy to get caught up and go, oh no, I didn't want to make that today. I just let
Yeah.
myself make that. And then if it's going in a direction, then I'm like, ooh, this is fun and cool, but actually I didn't want to keep doing that, or I get bored of it. I just instantly save as new project. Just
Do
open.
you
new.
finish tracks quickly?
Now
You're a
more
fiddler.
so. Now more so.
Yeah.
But like, depends. Honestly, it just depends if I'm super into it or not. When I'm super into it, I can like get through something, get an idea hammered out and stuff like quite quickly.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, you know, but then if
then
it's,
do you start fiddling with it for forever, or is it like it's done now and you've got quite a
I can be fiddly, yeah.
Yeah.
But also like it just depends on like what I've used and like what it sounds like. And sometimes I do like road test it, or I bring it out and I like go to sound check and I listen to it and I'm like, that sounds too big, or like I send it to friends and they're like, you need to do this. And most of all, the balance is in the kick and the bass drum for me, because the bass line and the kick, which is that's my biggest battle constantly.
Do you mix your own tracks, or do you get mixed?
I do now. This one was mixed by me, and the B side of it was mixed by Ploy.
Oh, okay, yeah, sick.
Yeah.
Nice. Can we go to like what's to come?
Well, we've got one more track.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
What's
a
to come?
forthcoming,
A
right?
forthcoming one.
Yeah. Can we
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
a little bit about this kind of crazy idea that you've got coming?
Yeah, definitely.
What's the name of it again?
So, I've got this. Yeah, it's called Dreamland,
Dreamland.
essentially.
I can't even begin to explain what this is. So can you tell us what the plan for Dreamland
I've
is?
got many of my notes. You know, I guess the best way to describe it, it's just kind of.
Is it a record label?
It's not a record label. It's a concept about kind of creating an idealized space in the digital and the physical world. It's just kind of about how, you know, we're in this position right now where we're forced to connect mostly in like a digital plane. And I wanted to create something that was beyond algorithmic forces. And, you know, I wanted to do something that was outside of, you know, these kind of things that actually favor connection and try to connect and gather with, you know, people that are into my music outside of just that.
Yeah.
And
we're all stuck to the apps and breaking free of that, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there is just like a greater need for that. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants to like connect deeper on a level like outside of this now and in real life. And I think it was a lot about a self-reflection for myself. Like I knew and I know that I'm not the DJ that's like trying to be the biggest DJ in the world. Like that's just never been my aspirations. My favorite places to play are not to thousands and thousands of people. Like I do it and it's part of what I do, and I know what I sound like in that space, but my favorite place to be is in small clubs like this. Like that's just what means a lot to me. And I guess as now we're in a position where like quite a lot of the small clubs all over the world are struggling, and I kind of wanted to shine a light, I guess, on my favorite ones, and also make sure to connect with people, I guess, like directly and in the clubs, like in an intimate space, but also for people to connect in these intimate places. Because like you go to a festival, you're not connecting with the people around you. You've gone there with your group of friends, and you're going there and you're at the festival with your friends. And maybe you connect with some other groups of friends and you meet other people, and that's still beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there's something that happens really special that happens in small clubs and between like going out. And I remember it being in these walls where I would just like come here almost by myself and just like meet people out and, you know, smoking area, whatever. And then you come away with friends, or you come away with people you never speak to again. That's also fine.
So one thing seemed like a point of difference between like psychic readings, which is a vehicle for you to release music, is you were talking a lot about kind of shining a light on other artists and empowering them. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so I guess Dreamland is going to be like kind of like a host space for me to be able to host like all of the projects that I have. So obviously people know that I do a label sometimes. They know that I have an NTS show. They know that I have a mix series as well, which is like fundamentally for like artists that I think are really cool around the world and that are doing really amazing DJing stuff. And then there's also, you know, like just video stuff that I'm doing, like Peach Cam, like little YouTube channels, silly things like that. I just wanted a space for that, and I wanted like also like a space for communication for that. And it's gonna start as like just email and like direct communication, and like maybe just like fun photos and like reading recommendations, excerpts, like connecting with people on a more direct level to like see who's interested and stuff like that. And then I want to move it into like more like events, like but specifically club events. And I think my goal for next year is to just host a club night. First of all, just in my favorite clubs all around Europe, just once, like maybe hopefully once a month. It just depends how many we can get involved, and like bring with me my favorite artist and give like a light to these people, and make sure people around the world can like see what they're doing, and go start there and start in Europe, obviously, because I'm only one person and I can only start in one place, and then hopefully move it maybe also to Asia, because there's amazing stuff happening there and amazing small clubs there, and also doing it in the US, and also doing it like wherever I can and wherever I've been. I can only do it like places that I've already been, right? Because I can only speak to what the vibe is from places that I've been. But that is where I see Dreamland going for now, and it is kind of like a fundamental idea that I've started working on with this girl called Lexi. She runs like a platform. She works with Muramasa. She does a lot of like community building stuff. Her ideas and her like drive is immensely inspiring, and like we're kind of like working together on like creating this project to kind of see where it takes us, and like see where it can take it. Like I would love for it to be more than just like club nights and like connecting people and like writing to people in an email list and recommending writing and stuff like that. But if it just starts as that, that's also fine, because that's beyond the algorithm.
Can we talk about this next track that you're going to play and its relationship to, is this going to be on Dreamland, or what's or is it separate?
Dreamland just is like a host for like all these kind of things, but it'll sit under psychic readings, so it is just going to be a new release on there, but it's just something that I've been working on that no one's heard before, just all of the friends that I've heard.
World exclusive.
It's a world exclusive, CDR exclusive, and it's
do
called.
Do you have a release date for this, or is it TBC?
It's TBC, because I was gonna put it out, but now I think I'm gonna give it to a friend to put it out. It'll probably come out next year, I think. Okay. But it's still got some like tweaks. But it's called It's Hollywood Baby, and it's the first time I've like really like used my voice, which is quite funny, to be honest, because it's not like I'm singing or anything. Thank you. That sub is too loud.
I want to open it to the crowd for questions. So have a think, crowd, about questions. But just wanted to ask one last question with this and with Dreamland is like, what's kind of next for Peach? Because when you spoke the other day, you had a really interesting thing of how you sort of kind of wanted to separate Peach as an entity from Serena the person.
Yeah, that's a big part of Dreamland as well, as I'm like trying to just kind of separate it, because I don't know, I guess trying to give her like a character and like a person and like an image of herself, because I guess like it's quite like entangled with me, and as we exist like mostly like in a digital space, and a lot of people like, you know, see me I like as Peach, but also like I'm just like, you know, I wanted to basically create like an actual character that people could like look at and be like, oh, that is what Peach is.
Because even the picture on your SoundCloud is like some
anime girl, but that's Sailor Jupiter actually. So I've stolen her away.
Yeah. Are you going to create your own avatar?
I think
type?
so. I think maybe.
Wow.
I've got somebody working on something now, but I can't say too much about it because it hasn't been created yet, and I don't know if it's gonna be as cute. But there's like a whole lot of things, and like I don't know, in true like I don't know, me fashion, I just want to create like a bunch of like little like takeaways and like give people things to like. I'm a gift giver. I'm big of
some,
that.
Like MF Doom type shit? You could just be chilling at home and you'll send your AI Peach to like do all the gigs for you in multiple cities.
That would be sick. It's gonna be like giving like Claptone vibes where there's like 5 of me just playing like all over the world at all times. I'm like, it's not about the money, but it's also about like, you know, people playing at once.
If there's 7 of me, I can seven times
every club.
my salary. Okay. Well, it was honestly a pleasure talking to you and hearing about the process.
Oh, thank you.
We're gonna have some questions, but for now, let's just give it up for Peach.
Thank you.
Do we have a microphone? Yeah, we do. Does anyone have any questions for Peach? One over here.
Yeah. Thank you. Great talk, by the way. Great to hear your insights, Serena. Just a question I had more around like the branding and the marketing of you as a musician. Obviously, you mentioned you used to work in marketing. One thing that came to mind is you mentioned your initial label, Psychic Readings, and then your new label, Dreamland. To me, both of them speak to like the subconscious and like an otherworldliness. Is that a conscious decision behind your branding and the marketing that goes into your work?
So Dreamland is just kind of existing as a hub. It won't be a label. A label will still just remain as Psychic Readings. But I'm a big like proponent of like, I don't know, mystical, interesting things. Like all the artwork from Psychic Readings has got like loads of horoscopes on it because like I'm super into horoscopes and like I'm just into that kind of stuff. And I love all of the, I guess just like all of it that goes around it. And Dreamland is like an idea and a concept. And a lot of the wording came to me as like kind of almost like something like I pictured like an amusement park, like something like idealized vision of like something really fun. And like, I guess that's like where a lot of it comes in, but it definitely is like a conscious choice. Like it has to like relate to like, and feel really like, I don't know, ethereal. Am I saying that right?
You got to do a party at Dreamland Margate, right?
Exactly.
Does anyone else have a question? At the back over there? God, making Sean run every corner of the room.
Thank you so much for the talk. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the interview as well. Thank you, Raji. I just wondered, like, kind of if you could take yourself back to before you were able to work full-time on music. You said around 2018 you were able to quit your job and devote more time to it. But to that period where you first moved to London and were working a job, but still it sounds like being very sociable. You're obviously a very personable person, and you were enjoying like the nightlife in London as well. How did you approach carving out time for production? Because obviously it's super time consuming, and kind of the more time you spend on it, the more you get out of it, especially as it comes to like curating songs together to send out to labels and stuff. So I'm just kind of, interested how you balanced your time and your life in London with production.
Yeah, I guess so the biggest thing was like, I just made a promise to myself. I remember one year and I was just like, I am going to do it for 2 nights a week. Like no questions asked, like get home, make myself like quick dinner and just sit there all night. And like, that was also at a time like I wasn't necessarily like putting tracks together and like getting like nice ideas. Like I was just like creating like pretty bad loops but also just having the like, you just have to persevere through that. Like, I don't know where you are. I think most of you are way beyond that because you're coming here to submit tracks and like play things out. But like, I think it's just about like really just, you do just have to like get your head down and be like in focus and just decide. And obviously it's way harder when the weather's getting nicer and it's easier said than done, especially when you've got like friends and stuff like that. But it was just a promise that I made to myself. And like, I've always been a person, and like Shanti says it all the time, like, you know, when we're out and we're in a career surrounded by like alcohol, like people, like everything all the time, and like quite a lot of like temptation to like party or whatever, but like when I have like a gig the next day or a flight the next day and it's really early, like I'm going to bed, good night. Like I'm playing the gig and I'm leaving, I'm going to bed, because I'm good at prioritizing those things. That's just how I've always been, and like I'm really strict with myself, but that's just not how everyone motivates. But I would just recommend just like, try to keep your head down for it, but also like don't be hard on yourself, and give yourself time to have fun and like go out and do those things, because that's where you're gonna find probably most of your inspiration, and the times with your friends and like out on dance floors, or not even just with your friends, like listening to music at home and stuff, is some of the most inspiring times I still have.
That just to add to the great question, by the way, that the 2 days a week was something you did when you were juggling, full time, and that. Do you still have a routine now that you do for music making, production?
Now it's like get in there every day and like try to force myself to. But then also when it's not hitting, and like I'm really big on now, like for the past like 2 years, I'm really big on like cycle syncing when it comes to like working out, and it also comes to making music, which is probably like something, I mean, most of the people in the room are men, so you probably don't understand what that means, but like there's 2 weeks of the month.
I was like, cycle sync,
yeah. So there's a theory around like working out where like, for your first 2 weeks after your period, you are your strongest, you are your like most confident, you're in your best place. You're in your best place to be like working out and doing cardio and like lifting weights and doing all that kind of stuff. I treat like production kind of like that as well. I'm like, that's when you're in your most confident. That's when you're most like happy with yourself as a woman. And I'm like, that's when I'm usually finishing tracks and like also pumping out ideas. But once I hit past that and I'm hitting like, 15 days before my period or whatever, and like my cycle is getting like, I'm getting really, really like self-conscious. I'm being hard on myself. I'm like really not happy with like what I'm listening to. I don't be super critical, and I try to just like, if I bring ideas in, if they're new, I just like, if I'm like being critical of them, I just move on to the next thing. And like I try to like not like spiral and like lock into them, because it's really easy during that state to do that. And then I also started writing ambient music during my period, because I thought that was like the best way to, to handle it. So I like cycle syncing took a really big part of actually like my own sort of like, I guess, productivity. And I think like women are expected in a man's world to just be like constantly productive and constantly, but like, I mean, even when you're working full time, like that's like really hard to do, like when you're like in these states, because sometimes like people have PMDD, which is like depression, like part of, and you have like, and I get really bad PMS, so I get really like sad and like I struggle, and sometimes I got to be just at the gig being like hi and like happy and playing like tunes for everyone, and everyone's like partying, and I just have to be like ready for it. But that's just, I guess, part of it, and part of being a woman and having to be productive in society sometimes. But that is I mean, cycle syncing has been a big part of my own sort of process, so try it if any women in the room, if you haven't. It's a good way to, and also for working out, it's honestly amazing just to be like, I'm just going to do yoga for 2 weeks. Like that's probably the right thing to do, not trying to lift weights when you're like, really sore, because also your body doesn't recover, blah blah blah.
Fascinating.
Learned something today.
I have learned something today. Yeah, more than plugins. Any more questions? Got a few over here. Let's do 3 more, and then, because we could be here all night, obviously.
Thank you both for being here. I was just wondering, sort of a little bit of a problem that I'm coming into at the moment is I've only just started out really, but maybe I can get an idea out into a song idea fairly quickly, and once I'm kind of a little bit happy with it, I kind of get attached to it a little bit. And then I know that there's obviously more to do to get it sort of to the next stage. So I was wondering sort of how you do that. Obviously you mentioned sort of using other people as a sounding board, but sort of separating your own opinion with it, how your ego attaches to an idea, and then other people's opinions, and feeding that into sort of your own process and bringing something closer to being finished.
I think with like, okay, so there's 2 parts to this. I think when you're like, trucking the idea along and you are attached to it and you feel committed to it, but it's easy to just be like, this is how it has to sound. I think it's so important, like using save as to just like, I often do this and I still do it now, like save as, and then just like crashing through the parts, being really real and going, that just doesn't sound that good there. Like just delete it. And just try to make something that sounds better there. And you still have the project. You still have the other one that you've worked on. So I think that's like important to remember. But then also, you know, have a save as moment and take your friend's advice and just dissolve the ego and dissolve the feeling of like, no, but I felt like I wanted it to be like this. Allowing it to try to be in other things, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it does just end up being the first thing, right? Sometimes that's just like what was the best thing. But sometimes you do it another few times. Like I've done it lots with remixes where I like make a version of something and I'm just like, I'm like, this, I'm really attached to like a melody or something. And then I just delete it and I'm just like, oh, this does just sound so much better with that. And the track that I just showed you has had like 4 iterations of itself and it didn't sound like that to begin with. And I do that all the time, like just crashing them through and sometimes it's better and sometimes it's not. But I guess that's not the best answer. But I think using save as and just being okay with other versions and not feeling too attached to anything is important. Because like it's nice to hear it be something else too. But I have like friends and there's like, you know, like Call Super could be the worst for this sometimes where I would like be like send him something. He's like, yeah, that melody is not here nor there. Like what kind of advice is that really? Like I don't actually really know. But I'm like, I guess it's not working. Like, that's for him at least. And sometimes I would keep it and it still stays the same or whatever. And like you don't have to like listen to like everything. Like what somebody says is not gospel. And it's like it's still important to like keep your in like I guess integrity is maybe not the right word, but like you are like if you feel like really passionate about something to keep it. But I definitely think saving as and like keeping it is like important and like keeping many versions because I have things and they just have like 5 versions on the go and I'm pushing those 5 versions along and the one that's the best.
Wait, in tandem, all 5 of them?
Yeah. I'm a big like person of like I have, and this is actually something Call Super taught me was to, you know, when I'm on a day, when I'm like, okay, I want to write music today, I want to work on some stuff, I open every single project that I'm working on, which can be up to like 25 things sometimes, just like every single thing. And I just push that along until I'm like, okay, I'm bored of pushing that along. Next one. Push it along, next one. By the time you get to the bottom of them, or maybe you only have a few and you get back to the first one and you're like, I don't want to push that along anymore. Start something new. It's like a nice way to just like keep it all flowing and to still, and to keep your brain like on different ideas, I guess. I hope that helps.
Yeah, super interesting. Any at the back there? Oh, well, Sean, you pick them. Too much pressure. Too many hands.
Hopefully I'm not repeating myself. There's a couple of other really good questions there, but you'd mentioned letting the whole process of your DJ career flow naturally. I think especially in the digital age, I'm sure a lot of people in the room will agree with me here, with social media being such a big influence, be yourself, some of your artists, some of your friends, they seem to be blowing up very quickly. And you just think, is there something I'm missing? Is there something I'm doing? Did you say there's anything you do to kind of keep yourself in check, to maybe almost discipline yourself? Does that make sense? To kind of keep yourself going without saying, oh, what's the point of anything? You obviously want to keep this going. Is there any sort of method you have for telling yourself how to keep yourself going?
So the question, so like, how she kind of keeps pursuing the career? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I guess like, I mean, I came up in such like a different time than what is happening, like what happens now. And I do feel like it's so difficult with music now. And to like, and if I was working on stuff and coming up at the time, or like working, if this was like, you know, 5 years ago or something, or 6 years ago, but I was now, if that makes sense. Like if I was in my like, if I was still working at my desk job and I was still like doing this and I did like the boiler room or whatever, it's like I know now that boiler room would not even touch the sides, like because the digital age that we're in now is just such a different one than it even was like 6 years ago. But I would say like, I mean, do it because you love it. Don't do it because there's like hopefully a result. And that's something I've been attached to since the beginning, is like I did it because I just loved this and cared about it. And I know that's so like, God, it's almost a bit like cliche and corny, but it is just because like I just care about dance music and I was just caring about like DJing and seeing how good it could sound to put the tracks together and how deep I could get into things that I like and like the sounds, and like constantly like digging for like a deeper like interest in like different sounds that I like and finding more stuff to like put together. And I guess that's what just kind of keeps me going now. I mean, I do feel like the digital age is like a bit monotonous and whatever, but it is also like really helpful, and it's like a good way to connect with people. And I think it's like, use it, I guess, to your advantage, but also like, you know, just be aware that like it's do this because you care about this and not because of like a result or anything. And even when I make music now, like I don't go into any of my stuff with like, hopefully it's a result. I don't make the biggest bangers. I don't make like the most deeply like technical tunes. Like I release stuff because I like just want people to hear what I'm working on, and hopefully they like it. And if they like it, amazing. And if they don't, like I'm also like, that's also fine, because this is just like, it's a process. And I know, you know, I'm still not like thinking I'm the best producer in the world or something, and I don't think I'm going to be at a point where like I'm like at ever where I want to be, but like and where I see like my idols or something like that. But I'm like, I'll just keep working and seeing like where it takes me, I guess, with all this. And I guess that's like how I like pursue. I don't know if that answers the question at all. I'm sorry.
I think it's a great
Just
answer.
ramble.
This is probably too big a question to add on. We'll consider
Okay,
we've
let's do it.
massively overran and we're trying to wrap up. But like, why do you think it is so different from 6 years ago? Is it pandemic, social media? Like, what's the...
It's so hard to say. I do just feel like the scene is just so, it's grown so much. Like it's both like grown so much and people, but it's different because I think these days everyone wants to be the DJ and everyone wants to be the producer and no one wants to be the dancer. And before it was like people are dancing and being whatever, and there was like a few people that would come through and like want to do the DJing thing, but now everyone wants to do it. And I think it's because DJing is more accessible, and I think that's amazing. Anyone can download a track, anybody can like get like access to like CDJs or even just mix on their computer or whatever. And I think that's like a really special thing, the accessibility of it all. And it used to be not like that. Like, you know, I would buy records from Hardwax and I wouldn't even like play them out because I'd be like too nervous or whatever. But now it's like, I think, and I guess like there's a level of, everyone has a smartphone in their hand. Anyone can go like live on Instagram. Anyone can like connect or like kind of, and it wasn't like that like 6 years ago even. Like you couldn't even really like, Instagram didn't even really touch the sides with this kind of stuff. So I guess it is a bit of digital social media. I guess it's the digital connection, and I guess it is accessibility. But I think the biggest thing is like not enough people want to be dancers these days. And I think everyone should remember that they should want to be dancers too. Yeah.
Definitely.
We need more dancers.
Right, we've got one more question, I think.
Oh, sorry. I feel like that was such a good note to end on. I actually had a more technical question though, just because, especially with the tracks that you played on this sound system, your bass lines sounded really amazing, and that's something I've noticed in your sound. Like you do bass very well, so I was curious what your approach to writing bass lines is. I'm sorry, that also could be such an open-ended question, but just, you know, in your approach to when you're writing tracks, how do you kind of slot it in, because you do it very well?
That's like the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, because because I love, like, bass lines are my favorite thing to write, obviously.
You're great at them, yeah.
Thank you. I just, honestly, it's like the drums are there, things are going. I try not to write the melody before it, because sometimes it's hard. You're attached to the melody and then you're trying to write it within the bass line, and I'm not super technical, so I do kind of end up writing the bass line first. I'm a big, like, just hammering it. I kind of, like, sometimes I just get it into the groove. Like, I don't actually write the notes. I just, like, if the track is going, I'll just be like, yeah, I want it to hit there and there and there and there. And I'll just write it in between. And I'm big in groove in the kick, like, in between the kicks. I want it to sit, like, in between it. And I want it to carry things together. So I'll just write the note, like, just the note itself, literally, note, yeah. Exactly, just tapping on one note. And then sometimes I'll move it around, or sometimes I'll do it myself, like on the keyboard, based on like what things sound good. But you really just have to soundboard and just try it is mostly the answer. And just like listen to the stuff that you really like, and listen to those bass lines that you really like, and like what is it about them that you really like? Like sometimes is it that they're moving in such a big way? Do they hold? Do they sit in one spot? Are they the same thing? Are they super low end and subby? Are they more like somewhere in the middle and kind of like taking up a certain type of space in the song? I think it's just about like looking at the things you really like and then kind of channeling them, because I'm just trying to channel like everything that I play, I guess, into the, not everything, but like, you know, I'm trying to just make things that like I want to play, which is the biggest challenge, I guess.
That's really helpful, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I just want to say that it was a really in-depth, we hugely overran, but it was really fascinating to hear you talk about this whole journey, and it's been fascinating. So amazing. Everyone, please get up for Peach.